Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Farm Connect, for the wonderful invitation to come to speak to you here this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, just imagine one day, son, daughter, all this will be yours. Child, what is your vision? What is your dream? What is your ambition? What do you want to do and live your life? How do you want to feel? What do you want to achieve? Mum, Dad, how can we do this together? What's your vision? What's your goal? Because, ladies and gentlemen, a vision, a dream, a goal, I think we all have them. But how many of us verbalize them? How many of us share them? And how many of us write it down? A dream, a vision, a goal is 80% more likely to come true if it is written down and if it's shared. I challenge you. That's pretty good odds if it was the lottery. So your vision, dream, your goal, you share it, you write it down, but who do you need with you to make that dream and vision come true? Who do you need standing beside you? What skills must they have? And what seats do they have in your bus to make your success for your business and your family? In 2012, I was really fortunate to be awarded a Nuffield Farming Scholarship on influencing and motivating change. And one of the great people I met and a book that I read was Jim Collins. How do businesses go from good to great? The world we are facing going forward in agriculture, diversification, in business, and in all of our industries, it is going to be challenging. So how do some businesses go from good to great, become successful, be prosperous, and be businesses that people want to be associated with and work in, rather than businesses that just become stagnant, stale, or just don't survive and go bankrupt? And there's three really simple recipe ingredients that make businesses go from good to great. You live and care and feel deeply and passionately about your business. Today we've had some fantastic speakers who without doubt were all passionate about what they do. But in your business, does everybody know the concept? Do they love, dream, and feel passionate about what they do within your business? Whether it be the cleaners, whether it be the lawnmowers, whether it be the kids that come and do holiday work, the relief shepherd, do they know the role they play within your business? And a lot of farmers love what they do. There's no denying about that. But do you know the economic drivers of your business? Do you know your cost of production? Do you know your market? Do you know your competitors? And do you know the margin that you need to be making to be sustainable? And then the third one is, are you the best in the world at what you do? And a number of people say, Heather, I don't want to be the best in the world. I want to be good enough. But we are living in a competitive marketplace. You are competing to get contracts, to get supermarket shelf, to get that consumer, that customer to come and visit you. And when you truly believe in what you're doing, it shows it pays. Winners in life are excited about what they're doing and where they're going. And that's saying, as if you love what you're doing, you will genuinely never work a day of your life. And you will find, a bit like yourself, that you can't believe you get paid to do this work because you're just having a bloody blast. Sorry, I said I wouldn't swear. I get excited, sorry. But in reality, when we look at our farming communities and our rural businesses, how many happy, cheery, buzzy, happy, positive farmers do we actually see? When we go to the market, the moaning, the groaning, the miserable. Not this audience here today, I'm delighted to say. We've got a lot of cheery faces. But what is it about agriculture that, nobody works as hard, or the market, the weather? We've always got something to moan about. And when I look at family businesses, how many people are farming in a business that they don't want to be in? They're not listened to, they're not involved, they're not doing what they want to be doing. Some family businesses, they don't even speak. The communication's a grunt, if we're lucky. And I think, what are we going to do about that? And often it's succession, that vision, communication, collaboration. We don't talk about succession, do we? Because you can see the whole tension and atmosphere changing in a room. But I challenge you, ladies and gentlemen, whether we like it or not, businesses will transition and succession will happen. We are only here once. Let's make it a life worth living. Because regardless of what happens, death does happen. Sometimes, some people are taken far too soon, tragically. Sadly, some stay too long. Disability, disease, disaster, the divorce word, disagreements and fallout, and debt will transition your businesses. So people say to me, Heather, okay, but where do I start? How do we go about this? And here are a few simple triggers. A son, daughter is getting married. We're going to bring someone new, an in-law, into the business. That is a fantastic time to start the conversation. What are their expectations? Where will they live? Having a family charter. Why don't we start treating our family businesses like a proper business? Put governance in place. People have job descriptions. People have roles and responsibilities and titles. And we have an employment contract. We know when we're going to get paid. We know what we've got covered in the salary. We know what we get out of the business. These are brilliant things, and it solves a lot of problems where we often blame the in-laws when the daughter-in-law or the son-in-law are starting to ask questions. Let's get all this out of the way beforehand. We're starting a new family. We're going to bring little Jessie and Johnny into the business. We're going to have a baby. How are we going to look after that? Who's going to cover the maternity leave? Will I get time off? A new school member is leaving school, coming into the business. What do you want out of the business? What skills are you going to bring in? Should you actually go away and work off the farm for a number of years? Go and bring some skills, some trades, some experience, and then come back to the business when you're ready. And what will you then add to the business so you have some ownership in there? A family member wishes to retire, or there's an illness. An individual family member wants to exit the business because they want to start something else. What skills and experience will these mature, experienced people of the business be leaving that are suddenly there gaps and the vacancies that we maybe need to bring in? And then often, tragically, we have far too many businesses that are split up and succession is brought in when someone's unhappy, there's conflict, and communication has broken down. So if we want to look at succession, what do we need to consider? And I think, first of all, a number of families, they'll maybe say, oh, right, we'll go to the accountant or solicitor and we're going to talk about succession. And the first thing the accountant solicitor says is sits down and we'll do A, B, C, D. And that's great. I would say if that is how you are approached, run. If you are going to a professional and they have not asked you, what do you want, where do you want to be, have you spoke to the family, what are your aims, what are your fears, run. Because so many farmers, when they speak to an accountant, all they're talking about is tax. We want to avoid paying tax. For many farmers on their headstone, it will be, I went to the grave and I paid no tax. Well, bully for you, but I hope you leave plenty of funds for counselling and therapy for the rest of your family, because it really screws people up. So a good accountant, and the one thing that's the world over is farmers have an aversion, an allergy to paying professional fees. How much? But sometimes the cheapest thing and the best advice you can get is taking second and third advice from a professional. So when you're speaking to your accountant, your solicitor, if you don't understand them and you do not feel comfortable with them and they're not speaking in your language, leave. Get another one. And often we do find there is a lot of succession in farm businesses and rural businesses, professional advisors, when we talk about succession. Because often we've inherited them from granny or grandpa or mum and dad, but they're maybe not right for us. And some accountants are brilliant bookkeepers, but agriculture, rural diversification, tourism is really, really niche. So they maybe haven't got that real skill and detail that you need to tailor-make a succession plan that is right for you and your family. Communicating openly with family members, this is often the tricky bit. When do we throw in the hand grenade? How are they going to react? Is it the parents that bring up the succession conversation from the top down, or is it the children that bring the succession in from the bottom up? For me, there's not a right or a wrong, just somebody please bring up the conversation. by start dipping your toe in, and, you might not be spoken to for a fortnight, afterwards, or they're disinherited, but just working away at it. And it's when do you have the conversation? For some people, it's maybe on a Sunday evening after mum and dad have had the roast beef. Mum's maybe had a few sherries and a few wines, and dad's had a couple of beers, so we're a bit more mellow and relaxed. And you can just casually have the conversation. I've seen other young farmers say, Heather, the only time I can get my dad to have this conversation is when we're in the pickup, going to the market, because he can't get out and he can't run away. So it's about you finding the right time. Other times, it's about being a lot more professional and maybe booking a venue. Farm Connect have got loads of meeting rooms, accountants have got meeting rooms, banks have got meeting rooms. Put an agenda out to the family. This is what we're going to talk about, and this is what needs to be covered. And some families will never be able to have that open conversation without having an independent facilitator in there to make us behave like adults, because often, tragically, we do revert to childhood. But what we also must do is recognise and respect the different generational values within our family. How did we get the farm? What have Granny and Grandpa contributed? And respecting and valuing the young people's energy, expertise and contributions as well. Give people job titles that are value, give them roles and responsibilities within the business. I think it's time that we start looking at our rural family businesses as businesses, not just family. So if you're going to go about this, I encourage every single one of you, before you start the conversation, to know what you want. These are really simple questions, because there's nothing worse of going into the succession conversation not knowing what you want, because you don't want to rock the boat. Mum and dad coming up with something, you're going, yeah, because they've said something, yeah. And then before you know it, you've signed up to something you never wanted to be a part of. So do you know what you want? Regardless of your age, regardless of where you are in the business, what is your aims, what is your ambitions? Are you ready to make the change? Because when you start this conversation, it can be difficult, it can be challenging, and it can take a long time, depending on the complexity of the business. But the sooner you start, we can then start putting savings in place, developing the business, diversifying the business. People can manage their expectations as well. Have you got an exit plan? Regardless where we are, farming, tourism, business, it's never easy. And often we're so bogged down in the day job that we haven't realised there's a whole heap of world of opportunities out there. So I always say to my clients, okay, what's plan B? What's plan C? What if we're going to do if this doesn't work out? And that can be liberating when we start thinking about different options and opportunities. And some people say, God, why was I still milking cows? This is the best thing I ever did. So it's giving yourself that time to look at other options. The other thing with all of my clients, you can't make any decisions on your future of your business, whether you're bringing somebody else in or whether somebody's leaving the business, if you do not know your numbers. You must know where the business is. So many businesses, there's children maybe have a far higher expectation and aspiration for the business than what it's maybe able to deliver. But then there's an awful lot of frugal farmers out there that have been very savvy, have made some fantastic investments, and the children maybe think there isn't an awful lot of option, but mum and dad have done a really good job. So know your numbers. Get the land valued, get the books done. What's the debt? What's the borrowing? What savings? What diversification interests have we? And then what do people want? And ask people to sit down and be honest. And often what I do with this as well is we'll get a map of the farm and have a look at all the different areas, because if your dream is that the farm must continue and only one child will get it, I don't see a problem with that as long as the other siblings know. But what I feel is unfair is when we say, yeah, you're going to get the farm, and then in 20 years' time, after you've given the best years of your life, you find out in the will that it's shared 3 ways. I don't think that's acceptable. Do you know what your spouse or your children want? It's amazing how many couples have not even spoken about the future and where they want to live and dream. Will they stay on the farm? Will they be in a villa in France? Will they be together? Will they not? And then, it is sitting down, talking to your family. Again, when we look at business planning, how well do you know your business? And how exposed are you if something was to tragically happen to any main party members in your business? How many are sole traders? How many are partners? What are you a partner of? Have you got a partnership agreement? If you're a sole trader and you're a tenanted farm, whose name's on the tenancy? Whose name's on the bank account? Whose name's on the single farm payment? Whose name's on the cattle movement? What happens if that person doesn't come home? How exposed are you? Partnerships, are you a partner of the movable, the debt generally, or the fixed, the good stuff, the land, the buildings? How many people are in your partnership? If a partnership has only got 2 people in there and one person tragically doesn't come home that day, the businesses are generally frozen. So not only are you dealing with grief and shock, but all of a sudden you cannot pay checks in and you cannot pay checks out. And it amazes me how many businesses are running along with no partnership agreement. And banks now will actually freeze your account on that as well. So all things to look at and to consider. And is the business set up in the way now that is right for you? Because maybe when you set up the business 10, 15, 20 years ago, this was the right structure. But I'm now seeing a lot of farmers looking at trusts and limited companies. So your accountant should be your friend. You know, speaking to your accountant 2-3 times a year, reviewing your business every time circumstances change, because it might be just a simple tweak is all it takes, but just don't fall in some of these unnecessary traps. Tenancy agreements, you know, where is the tenancy agreement? How much notice do you need to give the landlord if someone dies suddenly? And don't just assume the next generation will succeed and will be entitled to take over that farm, because many times there's a few hoops they've got to jump through. Pre and post nups, they used to be just something we sniggered at. I think there's a lot of right for them now. And I probably don't really have any objections to a prenup, as long as the kids know about it while they're dating early on, not the week before the wedding. That kind of sucks. Banks, accountants, lawyers all tell me, Heather, if our clients come with this list, they will save a fortune. Because when you do want to approach your succession, when you want to put proper governance into your business, you will need an up-to-date will. Hands up in the audience, how many's got an up-to-date will to their current circumstances? Right, that's one of your take-home messages. Get that done. Wills, if someone dies interstate with no will, it is a nightmare trying to untangle all of it. So please, get a will in place, even if it's a basic one, but review it all the time. Powers of attorney are as important, if not more important, than a will. Powers of attorney deal with the business. So if you're incapacitated, who will make the business decisions? And particularly if you're a sole trader, this is really important, or a partner. So it could be that you're skiing in France somewhere and there's a volcanic eruption and you can't get home because there's no planes. It doesn't have to be that, you know, you're dying. So who would then, if it was Ajax or whatever, who would make those decisions? The other side of a power of attorney is your health. Who would make the decisions and look after your estate, you know, and make your decisions for your health? Property deeds, where are they? Do you actually own the farm? I've been blown away that there's been fallouts about pieces of land and they never even owned it, you know, and some people have bought it twice because they didn't, you know, we don't need a lawyer because that costs money. So where are the property deeds? Whose name are they in? You know, it's amazing how tangled that can be if you want to split up a partnership, share things. Mortgages and loans, you know, how much money are we in debt with? Past and current tax records, you know, have you opened the envelope? Have you read them? How profitable is the business? How is the business performing production-wise? You know, are you sailing at 110%? You're absolutely singing sweet? Or are you honestly only going at sort of 50% and you can crank it up? What impact will it be if we need to fund another family member and another business? Bank account information. How many of you does one person hold all the bank account information? How vulnerable and exposed are you if they don't come home? Because you've tried getting into your phone, you know, trying to get in. If you haven't got your passwords and everything, I say to some people, where's the passwords for all your bank account? Oh, Heather, they're just there beside the computer. Well, that's maybe not that daft. Other people are in the top drawer with a little book that says passwords. One guy says, oh, it's in the safe, Heather, and only I have the key. You know, but we do need to know where these are, and it is amazing in how many businesses it's only one person that knows all that information. Savings, on and off farm investments, retirement plans, current debts and liabilities. Where are all these information? And I tell you, I urge you today, if you can get a how-to manual where everything is all kept in one place, your family will thank you. Or even ask mum, dad, granny and grandpa if they're the ones in charge. So other opportunities to start bringing up the succession talk, planning for the future. You know, have we got future family expenses, weddings, different things like that? Do we want to put our children through private education? Who's going to fund that? Can that come out of the business? If we're buying or building a house, should that be in the children's name, in the parents' name, or in the business name? Retirement. You know, some of you lot think you live for naught, but it's often quite surprising how much retirement costs, and you're maybe just not aware of how much you're drawing from the business. And what kind of retirement do you want? Do you want to be going on cruises and living the dream? Or are you quite happy just having a day at the Royal Welsh and a nice trip out to Farm Connect in September? And care home costs. We're living longer. We can keep people alive. Whether we should is a debate. But, you know, how is that going to affect your business if they're a main partner in there as well? So small steps, create a plan, take advice, keep control, use a facilitator if you need one. Please get your powers and wills in order, and know your business and know your numbers. Thank you.